A lot of men reach a certain age and quietly start wondering something they rarely say out loud. Am I still attractive? Or did I age out of the game? Not just physically attractive, but desirable. The kind of man women notice, choose, and feel drawn to. Not out of convenience, not out of nostalgia, not just because you're safe, but because there's genuine interest, curiosity, and pull. For many men, this question shows up subtly. It might arrive after a divorce, after dating feels different than it used to, after realizing that attention no longer comes automatically, or that the rules they learned earlier in life don't seem to apply anymore. And because men are rarely encouraged to talk openly about desirability beyond youth and performance, the question often stays internal. What most men don't realize is this: many older men are far more attractive than they think. Not in spite of their age, but because of it. The problem isn't that attraction disappears with age. It's that the markers of attraction change. And if you're still using the same measuring stick you used in your 20s or 30s, you'll miss what's actually working in your favor now. Earlier in life, attraction is often loud. It's visual, it's performative, it rewards speed, bravado, novelty, and intensity. But over time, those qualities lose their shine. What once felt exciting starts to feel exhausting. What once seemed impressive starts to feel hollow. Attraction later in life becomes less visual and more psychological. Less about flash and more about presence. Less about being impressive and more about being grounding. One of the clearest signs you're an attractive older man is that people relax around you quickly. You've probably noticed this without giving it much thought. Conversations slow down when you're present. People exhale a little. They stop performing. They share personal details without being prompted. They seem less guarded, less defensive, more themselves. That doesn't happen by accident. From a psychological perspective, humans are deeply attuned to nervous system regulation. We are drawn to people whose internal state feels stable and coherent. When you're not anxious, reactive, or constantly trying to manage how you're perceived, others unconsciously feel safer around you. Especially women who have lived enough life to know that emotional chaos is exhausting. Calm becomes attractive when intensity loses its appeal. Another sign you're attractive is that you no longer feel compelled to prove yourself. You don't oversell your accomplishments. You don't force stories into conversation. You don't inflate your past or minimize your flaws. You're not trying to win an invisible competition with other men in the room. You speak when you have something to say, and you're comfortable letting silence exist. That restraint reads as confidence. Even if you don't label yourself as confident, confidence at this stage of life isn't bravado. It's self-trust. It's knowing who you are well enough that you don't need constant validation. You're no longer outsourcing your sense of worth to reactions, attention, or approval. People sense that immediately. Another strong indicator of attraction is that people seek your opinion. Not dramatically, but consistently. They ask what you think. They pause when you speak. They reference things you said weeks or months later. They come back to you. That's influence. And influence is a form of attraction. You don't need to dominate a room to matter. Often, the man who speaks less but with clarity carries more weight. Women notice this because it signals discernment rather than insecurity. It suggests that you're not talking to hear yourself speak. You're speaking because you've actually thought something through. Here's a sign men often misunderstand. Women feel comfortable being themselves around you. They're less polished, less performative, less guarded. They don't feel the need to impress you or manage your reactions carefully. They don't feel like they're being evaluated or scored. Many men misread this as friend zone energy. It's not. It's trust. And trust is the foundation of real attraction, especially later in life. Excitement may spark attraction early on, but trust is what allows it to deepen. Trust is what makes desire sustainable rather than volatile. This becomes especially relevant when we talk about age gap dynamics. Despite common stereotypes, younger women who are drawn to older men are rarely responding to money or status alone. Those factors might open a door, but they don't keep it open. What often draws them in, and keeps them interested, is emotional steadiness. They're tired of unpredictability, tired of mixed signals, tired of emotional volatility disguised as passion. An older man who is grounded, consistent, and self-possessed stands out immediately. Not because he's trying to, but because he doesn't need to. Another sign you're attractive is that you're comfortable with age differences without fetishizing them or apologizing for them. You don't minimize your age to seem younger. You don't exaggerate it to seem powerful. You don't justify your existence or explain yourself. You understand that attraction isn't about matching numbers. It's about matching energy, values, and emotional maturity. Psychologically, age gap attraction works best when the older man isn't trying to reclaim youth and the younger woman isn't trying to borrow stability. When both are simply grounded in who they are, attraction feels natural rather than transactional. Another powerful sign is that you don't chase validation. You can enjoy attention without clinging to it. You can accept interest without letting it define you. And just as importantly, you can accept rejection without turning it into a referendum on your worth. That emotional independence is rare, and rarity creates value. People are drawn to men who don't make them responsible for their self-esteem. Another overlooked sign of attractiveness is how you handle disappointment. Plans change, people cancel, interest fluctuates, someone pulls back, and you don't spiral, you don't interrogate, you don't withdraw into bitterness or defensiveness. You stay steady. That steadiness signals emotional regulation. One of the most attractive traits a man can have at any age, but especially later in life. From a psychological standpoint, humans are drawn to what feels predictable in a good way. Not boring, but reliable. Not dull, but safe to invest in. Someone whose reactions aren't a gamble. Another sign you're attractive is that you're selective. You're not trying to appeal to everyone. You know what you want, what you don't want, and what you're no longer available for. You don't overextend yourself just to be liked. You don't contort yourself to fit into spaces that don't respect you. That selectiveness isn't arrogance, it's self-respect. People can feel the difference between being chosen and being tolerated. Being chosen feels grounding. Being chased often feels pressured. Another major sign is that you have a full life. Not a frantic one, a full one. You have routines, interests, responsibilities, people you care about, things that matter to you outside of dating. Your life doesn't pause while you wait for someone else to give it meaning. This matters enormously. Psychologically, when a woman enters your life and feels like she's being invited into something already stable, attraction grows. When she feels like she's being asked to fill a void, attraction collapses. Fullness attracts, neediness repels. Another sign you're attractive is that people trust you with vulnerability. They share fears, regrets, uncertainties, and personal stories, not because you push, but because you listen without judgment and without rushing to fix. You don't minimize their experiences, you don't hijack the conversation, you don't turn vulnerability into a problem to solve. This doesn't mean you become an emotional dumping ground. It means you create space without controlling it. Men who can hold emotional complexity calmly are deeply attractive, especially to women who have outgrown surface-level connection. Another sign, often underestimated, is that you're comfortable being alone. Not resigned, not isolated, comfortable. You enjoy your own company. You don't rush to fill silence. You don't treat solitude as a failure or a temporary inconvenience. You know how to be with yourself without numbing, distracting, or performing. That comfort changes how you show up in relationships. You're choosing connection, not grasping for it. Psychologically, people are drawn to those who could walk away, but don't need to. Another sign you're attractive is that you're still curious. You're open, you're learning, you're interested in people. You're not rigid, bitter, or convinced the world passed you by. You don't cling to who you were at your peak. You stay engaged with who you're becoming. That openness is magnetic. Because attraction isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about the sense that life is still unfolding around you, and that being near you feels grounded, calm, and real. So if you've been measuring your attractiveness by outdated standards, youth, noise, performance, you've been using the wrong scale. The traits that matter now are quieter, deeper, more psychological. Confidence at this stage isn't bravado. Age gaps aren't about power. Attraction isn't about trying harder. It's about being settled enough to let connection happen. And chances are, if you're honest with yourself, you already embody far more of this than you think.